We are excited to start with the expectations that it is happening at some point. And
we're live.
All right, hello, welcome everybody. Had some technical difficulties this morning, but we are here.
We are
in the town with a haul.
We're ready to go.
Ready to do it. Concrete5, February 2020. That's when it is.
Yeah. 2020.
Yeah. No, we just had a palindrome 2 days ago.
I saw that.
900 years or something. 0202 2020. Thank you for joining us. Apologies for our tardiness, but we are here with a full session. This one, last couple ones, been holidays-ish, kind of light, but we got a fair amount to talk about. So I will jump right into it. If you want to jump over to my screen here, Corvin, VJ Santo. First and foremost, we'd like to thank everybody who contributes their valuable time to Concrete5. We really appreciate it. If you don't know, we have a karma system built into concrete5.org. You get points for helping people, promoting the project, and doing work. And every week there's a winner of each one of those categories that gets a free add-on or theme. This week, not surprisingly, John the Fish won for helping people, because John the Fish is very helpful and active. Hilariously, Google seems to have won something for promoting our project.
Plucky underdog.
I'm going to make it, I think. And John won for working as well. So that's very active. There's a bunch of people who have already started accumulating points here as well. Some names I know. There's Mwakati and Talakman. Some are new to me. Harry Tulu and Crazy Nut. That's cool. It's cool to see new people in there and all the help we're getting. So thank you for that. And we appreciate it. Moving right along from this page, VJ. We've been doing some new GitHub stuff. There's a bunch of people you want right there.
Yeah, absolutely. In the last 30 days, we've accepted pull requests from Biplub, Deke87, Hishi, J Lucky, Copy, Corvin Santo, Manio, Masuva, M Lokati, Mr. Carl Dilkington, Rude Zwicherlicht, Sharak, and Wordish, and probably some others. If I missed you, I apologize for that. You've probably seen a fair amount of activity in GitHub over the last 30 days because we have been closing issues like crazy and updating issues and recategorizing them. So a couple weeks back, we nuked our labels and migrated some of the issues that were tagged in a certain way to our new label set. Basically, we tried to do a much better job of explaining you don't have to guess at the intention behind the labels. So they should make a lot more sense. We actually have an internal document explaining them so that someone other than the people sitting in front of you could categorize labels or categorize issues in the future. And yeah, we just want to do a much better job of categorizing issues as due to how they kind of touch the core, which aspects of the core they are working with, whether they're bugs, how difficult we think they might be to do, and just get a better sense of what areas in Concrete5 need the most improvement. And and as a part of that, we have started closing out old issues pretty aggressively. We're marking issues as stale. If they get commented on, that label will be removed because we don't want to close anything that really still has interest in it. But we're just trying to keep that issue list a lot cleaner, and we've closed, I think, upwards of 150 issues. We're making a lot of good strides in that area.
Nice, that's great. Yeah, just like Andy said, our new issue labels should be very descriptive, not subjective. Something that anybody could apply and say, oh yeah, those are clear attributes to a thing, and no more. This is what Franz and Andy like. So that's exciting and cool to see people using that and responding to it. I would also offer at this point that we do a Q&A session at the end of these town halls. So if you have Qs, you can post them in SteamYard, and Mike in the background will be keeping track of them. And if there are questions around GitHub and how we implement it, we'll give some A's. Let's see, next on this list, special documentation shout out to our Dutch friends at De Webmakers. They have done a bunch of videos in English and Dutch called Concrete5 Explains, which maybe I have. Yeah, cut back to me. Here you go. Concrete5 Explained at concrete5.nl. This is great. We might have to do a better job of kind of getting some of these into our new documentation. Whoa, look out. Something's wrong with your site. It's on fire. Very cool. I mean, learning is a challenge. There is an awful lot that concrete5 does under the hood, and it has been a consistent refrain that, gee, I had no idea it could do so much. So the more of this kind of content that is produced, the better. And we are eagerly focusing resources on doing that here on the big picture. I think there is value in it coming from many different voices with lots of different experiences and perspectives, as opposed to just ours. So thank you guys. Long time concrete5 player. We think there's stuff on our wall that they sent us a long time ago. So we appreciate that. Also, I have here a note that we would like to specially thank Noor Nkele for single-handedly keeping the Carmen prize machine running with his donations. So if you are an add-on developer or theme developer in our marketplace and you would like more exposure for your work, a great way to do that would be to contact Mike, MYQ, in Slack and donate a few licenses to the Carmen machine, because those go to other active community members who will be overjoyed to receive your add-on when they win for helping, doing work, or promoting the project, and then they will tell other people how great your work is. So it is an easy win, and you should do it. One other news thing I want to slide in here that didn't make it to our agenda, but I've got up on my screen, is our German friends have done some magic around upgrading legacy version 6 sites to version 8 sites. They took our migration tools. We kind of had a project in GitHub that gives you some scripts to kind of export things and import things. They have used that as a starting point and created all sorts of CLI stuff around it to really make it a systemized approach for them. I imagine it's very true. Lots of steps, and it's very rigorous. So much so that it's not easy to just kind of package up, put in a zip file, and share with the community. I think a fair amount of it is their hands-on process, but they've got it very efficient. They're telling me they can do it in minutes or hours when in the past that's taken days or weeks. So they are eager to, it's super cool. Mike took a look at some of the stuff they're doing. He was pretty impressed. So I had them quickly throw this page together. They said, well, we're going to make this thing look better over time, but we'll include a link to this in the description. If you have a legacy concrete5 site, or you hear from someone's like, I don't know what to do with this, I want to upgrade it, but gee, it seems really expensive and time consuming, give these guys a check them out, because they've got some cool tools. They're willing to do it very quick. They've even been talking about some special promotions where they might kind of do it for free for a couple people. So jump on that, and good for everybody. Let's see. Back to me, Corbin. So moving on to news. Big excitement over the weekend. We sent out we started a contest for the month of February, where we are going to give you potentially a free iPad. We've never done anything this high level, big boy marketing kind of stuff. This is a reasonably serious commitment for us. But we are eager to learn more about your experiences with concrete5, and particularly concrete5.org, the community. As we've talked, we've been re-architecting and kind of thinking about how this is all going to go together, and there are some fairly big changes being detailed here. We don't want to do that in a void. We don't want to just be solving problems that aren't real, or making decisions that have impact that we don't understand. So this is our first attempt to kind of reach out, build a short list of people who are interested in how the community site evolves, and really kind of dial the features that we're building into the real world problems that you are facing. So if you have not filled out that questionnaire, you should do so. I'll bring it up real quick, just in the interests of promotion and stuff, but you can find it right off of the bottom of our homepage, I'm sure. Win an iPad. Just tell us what you think about concrete5. It is not so bad. It is a, let me get over to it, about 5 pages of questions. Huge iPad at the top. Oh, that's so loud. pretty cool. There are also other prizes. We will be giving $250 in marketplace credit and for second prize, and $100 for third prize to the top 3 submissions. And for clarity, this is a contest, not a sweepstakes. So we will be judging the submissions based on the completeness and helpfulness of the information provided. So take the time to give us thoughtful answers to those questions, and we will cherry pick out the best answers. And we personally appreciate every answer, and we'll go out of our way to make sure that people who go out of their way to help get special recognition. So please do that. We'd like to hear from more of you. What else is going on? Jessica Dunbar has just had her speaking, what do you call that? Engagement talk. Her talk approved for PHP Tech. So if you are here in the US and you like going to conferences, you should go see Jess talk at PHP Tech in, when is that? May, that sounds right. One of the larger PHP conferences, and lots of cool speakers there. I don't think Jess will be talking about anything concrete5 specific, but she will be there talking about open source and good stuff. And you can go there and meet her, and that'd be nice. Good connection to make. Another point that jumped out to me in the last weekend, we have an email newsletter list. We have been building that list for a very long time, and about a year ago we thinned it out. We sent out a newsletter and we said, look, if you don't sign up for this new list, you're never going to get news from us again, because we had been building that honestly from before we went open source. I had people back from like the agency days in there, so it just got really aged and huge, so it was expensive and useless to send it out. So we made a new list. If you're not getting news from us, if this iPad contest is news to you, for example, it wouldn't be if you were on the list. You would have heard about it Friday. You would have had all weekend to work on your survey results, so you could win that iPad. Sign up for the newsletter list. There's a way to do that somewhere. I'm going to guess in our footer, maybe. Oh, there's so many things to read, but I feel like it's somewhere in here under community, perhaps. Yeah, you'll find it. Right, Mike? How do I get to this thing? This isn't the smoothest, is it?
It's down at the bottom.
We've given people no way to do it, and they're not doing it.
Bottom right.
E-newsletter.
Oh, there it is. Dar. I couldn't find it in our 50-footer link. There you go. Subscribe to our monthly newsletters. So a really engaging interface there, but you can sign up and get news from us from time to time. Honestly, it's not quite monthly, so you don't even worry. We'll be really gentle with your inbox. But yeah, you should check that out. Woo, blasting right through news. We do have some cool stuff to share, though. If you have not been paying attention to the version 9 stuff that has been happening in GitHub, you really should. We've been starting some pretty rigorous QA in there, trying to get bits of the interface that have changed because of the upgrade to Bootstrap behaving the way they should. And we've got our direct user experience in there, kind of posing solutions to the most egregious design problems in the current version of concrete5. So as we've explained before, we're not doing a complete from bottom to top redesign, sky's the limit. We're calling it more of a design refresh. But we have not really had even that design refresh perspective since we came out with version 7, which has been quite some time. So it's some of the interface moments are a little long in the tooth and should be cleaned up. So there's some comps coming out here. And you can find this stuff in GitHub as well, but you can see the ad block interface is no longer dark and hard to read. Oops, zoom in. Here's the exact same comp twice, so sorry about that one. There you go. You can see like we've even got, once you get into the control panel, that has kind of brightened up. The attributes page now like just kind of feels a little bit more connected. We don't have the inexplicable blue every other row happening. Here's the clipboard. We're kind of, it's a little bit easier to see like this is the content, and we'll truncate it as opposed to all just kind of bleeding together. Search is now above. We're trying to make it easier to see that you can switch between clipboard, blocks, and stacks. Over here on the right, the dashboard is the same background color. We no longer have 3 different shades of gray, depending on kind of where you are. So again, just trying to do some consistency and make things feel like they belong in the same boat. Here you go. There's another view on the blocks thing if you want to keep it blocky. What else have we got here? Switch in that drop down guy. Oh, you can see behind the scenes here, we're implying that we actually get the folders that exist in the dashboard side of Stacks. Let's show them on the front end side of Stacks. So that's a little bit, that'll be something I think people will really appreciate. That's a bit of a serious functional improvement, but not dramatically so. I feel like I already showed that one. Similar idea. More room for inline help in these interfaces as well. Save and cancel buttons moved up to the top and they'll stick there. So some subtle changes that won't require kind of rebuilding everything, but definitely make things feel a little bit more consistent and just that they've been given some ongoing love. And of course, you will see the beginnings of a containers interface. If you've been watching these videos over the last few months, you've seen us talk a lot about containers and how that will let you drag in a few different blocks and content elements that have some formatting structure to them and kind of pick up where layouts maybe left off. So all that is happening. It is exciting. It is going into GitHub. If you're looking at this and saying, this is outrageous, I really miss the dark backgrounds and the blue blocks, how could you possibly have done this to us? I would encourage you to go post that in GitHub.
Yeah, there's issues for all of these things.
Yeah.
And we would love to hear.
I'm sure we're missing stuff. We are far from perfect, but that's where we're chatting about it. We're chatting about it internally there as well. So we'll meet you on GitHub with this stuff. Ooh, let's see. We are moving into, I think that's all the news. You got any other news?
No, that's
stuff that's happening
that's
that
the
we're
list.
100% sure of? Okay, cool. All right. Now is the time where we show off a cool concrete5 site in the wild. We do this because invariably people always ask me, well, what can I build with concrete5? And the answer is, well, anything. But that's no good for business people. They want to see just this. So this is the part of the video that you can share with your clients and say, oh, wow, there's some cool stuff. Milk and Honey is a machine learning and artificial intelligence consultancy in San Francisco. They hired this firm, Trinamic Digital, to build their site. It's pretty cool. It's got a nice, fresh, dark background, nice layout. Every one of these pages does something interesting. So a fair amount of custom functionality built into here. Of course, everything's fighting for my limited bandwidth at this point, so don't blame them. This is my connection. Website. What was some of the stuff I thought was super cool in here? I liked, goes in strategy, maybe. Oh yeah, I like this thing. This is cool. So, whatever they're talking about, some matrix of what they do and whatnot. And we've done this recently on a project too. How do I, we'll see what's in the background. But as you shrink this down, at some point, come on now, this should change. Whoop, see, it changes. So that's cool. So you lose a row and instead you do something a little different. Doop. We've recently been doing something like that for some tables on one of our Army sites, where as you get smaller, you actually kind of move the columns to rows and the rows to columns, and like it just doesn't work on a phone that way. So you have to, through CSS and responsive design, change things up. So that was kind of clever. And then the thing that was actually really cool was anytime you see the word community, I'm all like, wait, what? And yeah, look at that, that's a concrete5 login. And nope, don't want to do that. Go back over here. Well, I have a login. I'm not going to do all the authentication, but yeah, this will actually, this uses concrete5. You can make a user here, and it makes you agree to their terms, I'm sure, using required attributes, and then it takes you through like a multi-step process to build out your portfolio.
Oh, cool.
I think it's kind of like a freelancer kind of, we want to get our resources in here, maybe share some stuff. So they're building out profiles, show your projects, all that kind of stuff. kind of like that coaster IO thing that we did a long
Oh,
time
yeah.
ago, but for machine learning and AI.
That's cool.
So that's pretty cool. You know, definitely hip stuff down in San Francisco doing machine learning and AI. You don't get hotter than that. And here's the shop that built it. Oh,
Right
I like
in
that.
there. Yes.
I like that.
That's cool.
Yeah, and this is all concrete5 as well, because I'm not going to show your agency site. It's not concrete5. Still appreciate you choosing our software for your clients, but come on now. But yeah, these guys have made excellent choices in their software stack and have a pretty website and cool clients, and we are proud to showcase their work. Cool. All right, we have blasted through a lot of news and a cool looking site and a bunch of thank yous. This is the exciting part of the program that we are going to see how it works. This is why we were 10 minutes late today, is we are going to do some audio-visual trickery to share in our show and tell some cool stuff that John the Fish has made, I believe. There's going to be a little bit of a hope this works moment. All right, I assume that we're sharing my screen. Anyone put your computer down?
Yeah.
Are we going to do this together? Are we going to do it on one, or are we going to do it after
We're
one?
going to do it on three and three, go.
1, 2, 3, and.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, and.
This is a demonstration of an add-on called Button Nav. Now, as the name implies, Button Nav is fundamentally a navigation button template for a core auto nav block, but it also does other things. It can attach to other blocks, it can attach to stacks, it can do drop downs, drop ups, light boxes, and such. So let's start with the basic capability. Here we have a standard auto nav block, and with a button nav template, and here we have the navigation dropping down from that auto nav. We have another navigation block with a button nav template. I think this is a manual nav block with a button that drops up the design. Very similar behavior, but with a different button design. A button design attached to the side of the page. This is for a nested manual nav block, which shows the nesting here. The pop-out navigation. If we scroll down here, we have a link button to a marketplace page and another navigation block, which takes us some other pages within this area of the demo site. These are all standard navigation blocks given a button nav template, and then the design of the button is done within the template. And the interesting thing about button nav is that we've actually got an extra edit menu for doing this. So you don't have to mess around with any hard CSS or anything. You can design the button within button nav. Let's look at a few examples of what we can do. Now, you probably don't want to do all this on one page. This is a pretty horrendous piece of design here. A page with not everything, but a wide spread of what can be done with button nav. We have the standard theme buttons from Elemental. We've squared the corners off a bit with standard bootstrap corners to the standard Elemental design. Otherwise, we've kept the Elemental shape but given it regular bootstrap colors, or we've gone to bootstrap default buttons. We can make them regular size, extra small, small or large. We can put icons on the right or icons on the left. We can give them the usual classes: danger, warning, info, success, any font awesome icon. We can even tilt the icons or animate the icons with standard font awesome classes. We can put an image as the button background. We can change the color of the text on the button. If you have Nor's Buttons Factory Pro add-on, then you can pull in a button design from that and use it with button nav. And here we've got a Buttons Factory Pro design used with a button nav template for a regular content block, which turns the content block into a pop-up with Buttons Factory Pro.
Cool.
We can attach buttons to the side of the page,
That's nice.
on either side or to the top of the page. We can attach buttons to stacks. So here's a button nav template for a stack. And we can pop out the stack, and within the stack we've got a bit of content, we've got a YouTube block, and we've got another button nav template attached to a content block in the stack. And we've used button nav to color the background of the pop-up, to put an image on the back, and to put some content and an icon on the button. As with any design, you really want just a few designs that you're going to use throughout your site with consistent behavior. That's good for users. So not all the wacky things that's been done here. So as a reminder, don't overdo it. And this is button nav attached to a content block, which pulls up a lightbox overlay within the content block, a regular sort of warning message. And it's a content block in a button nav lightbox template. What we're going to do next is let's go to a standard elemental install and show you how to add an auto nav block with a button nav template. So this is something that you should be pretty familiar with. We'll pick the blocks, we'll pick auto nav, we'll put it here just below these feature blocks. This is a regular auto nav. I'm going to leave it at all its default settings. Add it to the page, and here we have a regular list generated by auto nav. I'm now going to do design and custom template and assign a button nav template. I have two button nav templates available here. I have a drop down and a light box for the auto nav. I'm going to use a drop down. I'll save that template, and because it's now got a button nav template, auto nav has disappeared. We're now seeing the drop down button for that. And this is the default styling when you first add button nav, saying menu and drop down. Now, if I now look at the edit for this and look at button design, here's the button nav edit dialog. So there's an extra level of capability in the edit menu that enables you to design the template with button nav. If we go through this, at the top right, we have a repeater for what the button looks like. We have the text in the button label. We have where the icon is positioned. And if I adjust this, you can see in the repeater is reflecting what's currently in the design. I can scale the size of the button, I can rotate the button, I can animate it with font awesome classes, and I can pick, let's get that properly, I can pick one of many font awesome classes. So I could, let's change it to a car, for example. I can theme the button using button nav, or as I said earlier, Buttons Factory Pro. I can assign a standard bootstrap class, and behind the scenes, these are also mapped into things like foundation classes as well. Sizes, buttons, overriding the theme CSS. Adding a background image, changing the text color. Now we come on to placement of the button. The button can be inline or at the side of the window. I can adjust the Z index if there's something else on the window that's getting in the way of the button. The actual drop-down behavior can be aligned left or right, below or above the button, and it can be aligned in line to the left or right of the button. And here we have, it can drop down or it can drop upwards. Maybe if you lower down a page, or particularly you want it to drop up rather than drop down. And we can change the color of the actual pop-up. Rather than mess around editing all of those, if we click on the repeater, we see some buttons that were designed earlier. And here's a convenient nav pop-up design. And And when I click that, it pre-populates all the design with the design of the button that I've just selected from the button history. But it doesn't pre-select the behavior. So I still need to decide how this button's going to behave. I'm going to keep it in line. I'm going to keep it aligned left. But rather than dropping down, seeing this button has got an upward hand on it, I think I'll call it a drop up instead and make it drop up above the button. So let's save that and publish our page. Here we have our button on the page for our auto nav block, and our auto nav block now pops up rather than appears in line in the page. So it's a great way of adding supplementary navigations, but we can also use it for content blocks to add little annotations, pop-up notes, things like that. Or what I'm going to show you next is adding it to a stack. Rather than create a stack, here's one I built earlier. It's got everything in it, including the kitchen sink. There's our stack. I'll just give you a quick look at this stack on the page before I go designing it. I don't want to approve the version here. So we've got a stack. Within the stack, there are 3 magic tabs. So in our first tab, we've got a YouTube block. In our second tab, we've got a contact form that's also been tabbed with magic tabs. And finally, in our third tab, we've got a bit more content and some buttons that are from button nav. And I'll show you those once we've put button nav on the stack itself. So let's go back into edit mode. Here's our stack. We're going to give it a custom template. We're going to give it a button nav template. Notice that the template's got width on it now. Because this contains content, we need to tell it how wide we want the actual drop down to be. And we'll save that template. You've seen this before. This now tells us we've got a button nav template attached, which we can do button design with. Into our button design, here's a button I designed earlier for the kitchen sink stack. And rather than keeping it in line, all the above has been populated by the previous design that we selected. We're going to put it to the right of the window. Defaults to 40%. I'm going to move it up a little bit simply because we've got a magnified screen here. And our behavior is going to be in line left. This is going to place the content of the stack in line to the left of the button. The button's going to stay as a drop down. And let's make it responsive. So we're going to use viewport width. We're going to make it 60% of the viewport width. Publish our page. And our kitchen sink button is now on the right of the page. And it pops out our stack with our tabs in the stack. Our contact form. And some more buttons. There's the nav pop-up you saw before, this time attached to an auto nav that has a bit of colour on the background that's been applied through button nav's background colour option. Here we have a content block in the stack that pops out in line to the left of the content block with a bit of a colour added to the background. Notice the general thing that if icons point anywhere, they should point to where the button's going to pop up. That's not something that's enforced by button nav, that's just a good principle to go with. And our final button over here pops up a light box. And in this light box, we have a screen grab that shows current templates available for button nav. We've got, for an auto nav block, a drop down and a light box. For a content block, a drop down and a light box. For a stack, we can do a drop down or a light box. For a file block, we can have a button nav download button. This is just a button that links to a download, but it uses button nav styling capabilities. We have a regular navigation button, which uses button nav to show navigation to another page or a URL. And we have manual nav and whale manual nav. Whale manual nav is one that I like because it's nested manual nav. You can create a hierarchy in it. And it's also 100% compatible with the core auto nav. So another block to recommend there. So close this light box and we'll close the drop down from the kitchen sink. Let's summarize. Button nav is a system for attaching a pop-up button template to pretty much any block, either directly or through putting the block in a stack. And it can do the pop-up either through a bootstrap style drop down or through a lightbox overlay. The lightbox overlay is compatible with any theme. The bootstrap drop down needs a bootstrap theme. Within the additional dialog that button nav attaches to the block template is a capability to design the button either directly within button nav or to pull in a more sophisticated design tool such as Buttons Factory Pro. And you can use this to add supplementary navigation, little information pop-ups, contact form pop-ups, any sort of button to overlay hero type capabilities. The blocks available in the marketplace, and I'm always contactable through the marketplace or directly if you've got any questions about that.
Fantastic. Wow. Cool. John's stuff is always so awesome. You hear button nav, you're like, yeah, okay, that'll be pretty easy. Like, let's go ahead and show that. And then you get it, and then we're like, oh, okay, it's like Inception.
Yeah,
you can do anything.
It's like an operating system.
Yeah, an operating system for buttons and menus and overlays and pop-outs and slide-ups and drop-downs. Nice work, John. That is cool. I particularly liked the where you have the repeater in the corner, and as you change settings down below, it changes. But if you click it, you get a bunch of presets. Like I don't know. It struck me as the kind of thing that like an end user would feel really comfortable with that kind of that experience.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's very deep. Not sometimes our features go wide, and it's nice to see features that they get really deep into all the use cases that you want. It's cool.
Nice. This is the questions and answers part of the program. So you may have questions from what John just showed in our strange daisy chain video setup. You may have other questions. I have one written down here from Noor. It says, hello. Period. Hi. Do you have an ETA for the new concrete5 website and / or details about what's coming? Thank you.
A related one.
Oh, nice.
Oh, ETA for version 8.6 and for version 9. I like the choice of
the
font size. That's great. I feel young at heart. No.
Let's do this one.
Yeah. No, I don't have a date for you.
For any of those things.
Nothing specific for any of that. But yes, it is very much the focus of this year. We have one big thing we're wrapping up for the Army and this. So those are the things that we're working on. And we are very eager to get it right. We are very eager to do it all at once. So as we've said before, version 9 will include support for the multi-site inside of a single concrete5 install stuff. Now, we've been using this in production underneath the hood for quite some time, but we've kept it difficult to understand underneath the hood because we don't have our marketplace properly set up to kind of deal with that licensing.
Yep.
So it has become kind of a, I don't know if that's chicken and the egg, or there's got to be some other metaphor for like, well, everything needs to happen at once.
Yeah.
And that's fine. So we finally have found the time to really focus on how to do it, but we want to do it right. So the best way that you could help us expedite that is to fill out that questionnaire if you have not already, linked to from our homepage, and I'm sure it'll be links all over the ether this month. Help us understand better what we should be doing first, foremost, and then not at all through our
For the new community.
for the
site
new community
specifically.
site
Yeah.
specifically. Version 9 will come out with that. 8.6, I think, is probably more flexible.
Yeah,
Leave
so
that in
that's
your
an
hands.
interesting, yeah, this is an interesting thing to talk about. So right now, the current major release of, or the current release of concrete5 is 8.5.2. We are planning 8.5.3 in the coming weeks. So nothing is making that happen. And nothing is making us drop everything to do that, but that will be coming in the coming weeks. And then, yeah, there is an 8.6 branch, and the only difference between 8.6 and 8.5.2 or 8.5.3 really is it has that multi-site stuff more turned on than the 8.5.2 branch does. And we did that for some client needs. And due to kind of the chicken and the egg problem, that's not the actual chicken and the egg problem, it's pretty likely that 8.6 is not going to come out as 8.6. That's just going to kind of transfer into version 9.
Yeah.
So 8.6, to answer the question, 8.6 is not going to be a thing. Those changes are coming in version 9. To the people that we've worked with privately to kind of get that 8.6 stuff working, we're going to continue to roll the sort of improvements that we make in the develop branch into both the branches. But you're going to start seeing a lot of feedback on GitHub issues. We've already seen this happen, where if something touches specifically JavaScript and CSS especially, but if it's more than just like kind of the smallest bug fix, we're going to be asking you to close that against develop and open it against the version 9 branch, because JavaScript and CSS changes specifically will not work. They will not merge well into the version 9 branch. That stuff is changing significantly due to our change in Bootstrap 4, our switching from less into Sass for the underlying core style sheets. There's just no way that JavaScript and CSS is going to port over. So any of that stuff open against develop branch, don't be surprised to see that closed. Direct those efforts definitely to version 9. This is a thing that we are going to be having public betas for probably by summertime, I would expect, with a full release by the end of the year. So it is definitely coming this year, and it's all kind of coming around the community site that Franz was mentioning, specifically with the updated marketplace and the updated multi-site support. So version 8.6 not going to come out. Version 9 is where those efforts are being directed, and any kind of maintenance releases as well in the development.
Yeah, it's big and new, put it in 9.
Yep.
If it's a simple fix, put it in 8.5. We're going to stay on the 8.5 branch. There you go. Oh my gosh. This new theory. Question. We've had some discussion on Slack regarding a one-click concrete5 image being built for DigitalOcean Marketplace. Any thoughts on this coming from the community versus an official release from Portland Labs? Yeah, we would do that. So we've been doing a lot of work here around Docker images and concrete5 and that kind of stuff as well. We have discovered any number of other stuff that's out there in the wild. I think
that are already being used.
Yeah, Mokati has a Docker image that he uses for some stuff, and I know concrete5 Japan has been tinkering around with it. So I know there's some stuff out there. But yeah, it'd be nice if it was supported from us. So
yeah,
that seems like something that's likely to happen. A lot of the initial head scratching we've been doing is how do we improve our own hosting options with the new community site, and Docker and Kubernetes is very much part of that. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of that trickled out into the general populace as well. Oh my goodness, this is a whole new format. Question. With version 9 beyond Bootstrap changes, are there some other aspects as add-on developers that we should expect to need to address in terms of compatibility? Ooh, this is you, Mr. Ambler.
Yeah, that's a good question. Probably the biggest thing that I can think of off the top of my head, beyond those Bootstrap changes, we're going to be changing. I guess there's two answers to that. So as part of these Bootstrap changes, the kind of focus on front-end assets like CSS and JavaScript, it's going to be changing a little bit to be a lot more bundled together. So the way that our asset system has worked for JavaScript and CSS since version 5.7, you kind of get these asset groups of things, and then you can kind of tell your add-on saying, oh, my add-on already my theme provides Bootstrap, so I don't need to include the Bootstrap tooltip JavaScript. Well, the way that JavaScript and CSS, well, JavaScript specifically is built these days, that all kind of happens before it even hits the site at this point. Using Webpack, you kind of compile your JavaScript together, and then you can call it asynchronously if you want, using your JavaScript. But once there's not a lot of on the fly including of JavaScript anymore. It's just kind of, it's part of the bundle of your site or your theme. So expect to see a lot of these kind of assets that used to exist kind of just being a part of broader categories. So instead of being able to say, I'm including the conversations front end portion of the CSS or JavaScript, that's all just going to kind of be bundled together into a generic front end bundle. Or instead of saying, I'm including the toolbar CSS, or I need to include the toolbar, that's all just going to kind of be bundled together into a sort of broad CMS namespace. So you can kind of see this coming together in real time in the release 9.0 branch. If you call a lot of assets sort of programmatically for stuff that you do, you're going to want to pay attention to that. And I'm sure we'll have more to say about that as we finish up the kind of the redesigns that you're kind of seeing floating around in GitHub, and a lot of that stuff becomes a bit more tightly integrated into that branch. And then beyond that, if you do anything regarding queues and jobs and commands and things like that in concrete5, you're going to want to check out the release 9.0 branch. A lot of the queuable jobs and things like that have been tweaked significantly, with the idea being that concrete5 handled queues and kind of got it half right, and now we have a full queuing engine and a full command bus under the hood in version 9. We've had that under the hood for about 1.5 years at this point, and we're just kind of including that in version 9 as well. So if you do have a lot of commands or you use queuable jobs in the core, sort of check out the way that we're doing that in the version 9 branch. You'll probably have some questions about that, and we will love to address that as we get more into a public beta scenario.
That made sense. It made me think of a question which actually seems to parlay with this question that's being waved in front of me.
I didn't look at it. I was trying to ignore it.
Good for you. I read it. You're mentioning how the way we include CSS and JavaScript is going to change with version 9.
Yeah.
I know we had talked at some point with containers and the core, how we might still provide ways that you could do anything that you want in concrete5, but also have just out of the box more of a built-in grid framework.
Yes.
And just kind of assume that Bootstrap is not only powering the dashboard, but also available inside of the theme.
Yeah.
And that would let us do things with containers that were more flexible and maybe work from one site to another and that
Yes.
kind of thing. And then I see this question that was waved around that says, since version 9 is moving to Bootstrap 4, and guessing a SAS compiler will be included, how will this affect theme developers in the marketplace? I think between moving away from less and are we going to require stricter grid system?
It's a good question. So it's important to sort of just state how less and SAS is used in the core. There's two ways. One, in version 8 today, we build our own core style sheets ahead of time. So once you download concrete5, this has already been done. This is not a part of what you're downloading. Those are all written in less, and then they are compiled first, and then they get delivered to you as CSS. So that is one. So we write the core styles in less today. And so in version 9, we are writing them in SAS, mostly because Bootstrap is SAS first. I think there's probably some ports that use less, but it is definitely SAS first, and we are using those source files in the Bootstrap version 4. And so that happens before you download concrete5. So it impacts us as core developers. Anyone who's submitting pull requests will have to understand that, but that doesn't really affect the way the core runs at runtime. Then there is the theme customization. So the aspects of themes where you can open up that panel and change the background color from white to gray or whatever. That is actually written in SAS and then compiled on the fly using a less library that's written in PHP that can kind of substitute variables. And it's pretty cool because it lets you write customizable concrete5 themes using the same syntax that you would if you were using less ahead of time. This is actually one of the big unknowns in version 9. We don't have that customizer working, period, in version 9 right now, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to have SAS powering the back end style sheets and then having less powering the customizer.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to figure out, A, is this customizer valuable at all? I mean, nothing is off the table at this
Sure.
point. B, if it is, and people might say, yes, absolutely, don't throw it away, what are you doing? Can we port this to SAS? Because is there even a SAS library that runs in PHP? There wasn't a few years ago. I think that may have changed. This is still actively in flux. And then to address Franz's point about the actual themes themselves, in the past, we have sort of said, you can build a theme using any conventions you want and any frameworks you want. And that is true, and that's still going to be true in version 9. But we've also kind of unspokenly made it a little bit better if you happen to use Bootstrap to do it. Mm-hmm. A lot of our core block templates use Bootstrap, even though they don't really say that they do. They don't necessarily embrace it.
Organically.
Yeah, it happens organically. We add a BTN button class because we want our theme to look nice in Elemental, which is based on Bootstrap. So what we are doing in version 9 is getting a lot more explicit about this. The idea being, look, you can use whatever framework you want to build your theme, but if you adhere to the concrete5 theming foundation guidelines, which are a superset of Bootstrap 4.
Let's not use the word foundation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah. I know. The concrete5 theming guidelines. If you adhere to those, you can rely on the fact that your theme will look nice with all the concrete5 add-ons that also adhere to that. Yep. And that's just really a fancy way of saying they share the same classes. They will share the same grid classes as well as buttons and info panels and things like that.
So there should be a GitHub issue somewhere around some debate between do we need the theme customizer or not?
Yeah.
That we'd love to have some input on. If we haven't made it, we will. And yeah, we're thinking about kind of embracing the idea of a core theme framework more, so things can be more portable.
Yeah.
So those are pretty significant changes if you're a theme developer that now would certainly be a great time to have strong opinions on. Yeah. That would help us kind of temper our
imagine if John didn't have to bend over backwards to support all the various permutations of what he was supporting. He could support kind of a bare minimum functional version for someone to customize for whatever sort of base framework they wanted to use. And then he could support one that adhered to our styling guidelines without having to add in a bunch of stuff to support every permutation under the sun.
And from my perspective, that makes a lot of sense because I believe, and this would be, you should definitely fill out that questionnaire and prove me wrong. But my sense is that there are folks who are building concrete5 sites very much out of the marketplace without really touching code and just using add-ons and themes and stuff that they can get. They're curious and creative and enthusiasts, and they've got a bit of a technical background, but they're not coding things from scratch. And then there are agencies that are taking, well, I'm going to, like this milk and honey site, like I'm going to design this thing from scratch. And I don't expect my client to be going to the marketplace and adding John's button.
They don't need interoperability between.
Yeah, I don't want my client messing with the buttons because we designed the hell out of them. And if they want to change it, they should call us and we'll design them again.
Yeah.
And so, I think for us to try to serve both of those audiences with one solution sometimes means that like we get the worst of both worlds as opposed to the best. And so I want to believe that as long as we make it easy for a development shop that has strong desires and knows what they want to do from a production standpoint, we don't get in the way, that there's actually a huge advantage of saying, but the core stuff you find in the marketplace, that all is going to have more interoperability. That was certainly the vision back in 2009 when we first built the marketplace, was like, if I use the reviews add-on, that will just work with the product add-on, like everything will just work together. And of course, it's tough in the real world, but that's the play. All right, I saw before we jump into that, oh wait, is this related? You need to provide some sort of customizer framework for themes, or every marketplace theme will be inventing a different way to do it. John is right.
That's true.
That is right. You can see that at WordPress. Every WordPress theme is like its own app.
Yeah.
So John is wise there. This is a really interesting form. All right, back to the last question. Do we have an ETA or potential migration to the Discourse forum, maybe to coincide with the version 9 release? Yes, exactly.
When Franz says they all need to be done at the same time,
everything.
He's not lying.
Just
and he's not forgetting
the
anything.
Stress.
It all is coming at the same time.
That is, let's see if I can do the list off the top of my head. I have it in a notebook somewhere. Oh, hell yeah. Let's see here. We are looking at everything. So that means we are doing our single sign-on, my community, concrete5. Here's I'm getting karma points off of GitHub now because there we go. Because that's where I'm active, you know. So that's your kind of my account area. That'll be its own version 8 install, single sign-on, so you'll be able to sign up with your you know, if your Facebook account has an authentication source and everything just works. The forums will move to Discourse. Nobody has spoken up and says you can't use Discourse because they're evil for some reason or bad. Like it's in Python, we just tried?
It's in Ruby.
Ruby,
Rails,
okay. So, but that's okay. We've got lots of smart people here. Documentation is getting a facelift and some new kind of landing stuff along with Andy's beefy, this is how you should think about sites in concrete5, which is being edited and I'm sure changing in real time. I think the showcase is going to become its own beast. I think it's more important than we give it room for. It needs a little bit more curation and love and some case studies and to be constantly updated. We have a translate site that's going to need to get reskinned. I think Emilcati runs that really well, but it's going to need to match. I think everything should match at the same time. The marketplace is going to get rebuilt. There's going to be a hosting platform. There's quite possibly going to be a jobs stack that is different than just a discourse forum area that we call jobs and say good luck. I think a little bit more hey, client, you need to fill out this form and give us some details around, you know, what's most important to you, budget, timeline, or quality. Can't be all three. You know, we want to make it so it's easier to kind of match the right person, the right shop to the right client. Yep. Bunch of new marketing stuff. So the whole deal, everything will be done at once.
And we're actively redesigning.
We're going to launch it on a Friday at 6 p.m. and
right before Christmas.
Right before Christmas. That's the plan. No, we won't do that. But that is the goal. We do not want to do a piecemeal trickle as we're available. Well, that's the best I could do, and now I'm not going to come back to it job. We want to really take the time to make it choice, test it. There will undoubtedly be some alpha and beta group people. As I've mentioned more than once, improving our hosting offering is central to this being valuable, I believe, both to you all and to us. And so we're looking for some early adopters there as well. So if you're interested in this stuff, I would strongly encourage you to fill out that questionnaire, possibly win an iPad or some marketplace dollars, and have your voice be heard. Any other questions? No? Have we done it? Is that it?
We might have done it.
We've done it. We're even 10 minutes over, which is great because we started 10 minutes late. So it felt like we had an hour of content today, and we did. So, that's what I know. You got this month to fill out that questionnaire and possibly be a winner, even more so than you already are. You're all winners for choosing concrete5 in the first place. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate you, and we will see you in a month.
I thank you.
Oh, March 4th.
March 4th.
March 4th.
Sweet.
Nice.
Or so. Yeah, there you go.